Hi, welcome to Scale with Julia. I am Julia Pimsler. I am a business scaling and selling coach, and I wanted to just start a new series where I can share some tips for selling and scaling. For 8 years, we've been helping women business owners to scale up their businesses, and we are so excited about some new sales programs that we've been teaching and realized just by sharing a few things, we could help people grow their businesses. So once a week, I'm going to come on here, nothing formal, and just share something that has come up that could maybe help you with sales. So thanks for being here. If you have any questions, you can throw them in the comments. I'll be checking those. I think there is a little delay, so just keep that in mind. So this week in our 50K in 21 days challenge sales training program, someone asked if I could help her with a dilemma I think we've all had, which is when you don't hear back from someone. She explained that she had a really good call with a former client and pitched doing some new work together. He seemed pretty excited about it. They had a whole, 30-minute call. And then she wrote up a proposal and sent it to him via email. And then crickets, nothing, no response. So she waited a few days and then she sent an email again. Hey, just making sure you got the proposal. Let me know if you have any questions. Happy to hop on a call. Again, we've all been there. But now it had been a full week and she had not heard back to either of the two emails. So there are three things that you can do if you don't hear back, if you get the crickets situation, as I like to call it. So the first thing is to manage your mindset. The second thing is to change lanes. And the third thing is to do the job before you have the job. So I'm going to unpack all three of those. So if you don't hear back from someone, the first thing you have to do is manage your mindset, because our brain goes right to like, oh no, they don't want to work with me. This isn't going to happen. He probably didn't like what I sent him, or maybe, he's working with someone else by now. And we don't know any of that for a fact. And, so many of our emails go right into spam. First of all, sometimes people literally have not even read them. And you also don't know what's happening in that person's life. Maybe they have an illness in the family. Maybe they just found out their company is merging with another company and their entire job might be on the line. Maybe they just have some pressing thing going on this week and they haven't gotten back to your email. We're all guilty of not getting back to people when we're not exactly sure what to say. Like maybe the day he had the call with her, he was super fired up about this, but then he went and talked to someone on his team or his boss who was like, I don't know, we've just been told to slash all professional development budgets. It's not the time. And he didn't want to say that. But let's not make any assumptions. We always want to, in sales, assume the best. Because until you get a no, there's no no. So don't make a no in your mind. So that's the first thing. Manage your mindset and don't kind of leave the table before anyone has asked you to leave the table. The second thing you can do is to do what I call changing lanes. If it's not working in one lane, let's say email, can you change lanes? Do you have this person's messages where you could just text them and be like, hey, not sure if you got my email. And again, if you've managed your mindset, you won't feel bad sending that because you're not assuming they don't want to work with you. Can you reach out to them on LinkedIn or on Instagram? Loved our chat last week. Look forward to hearing back from you about the proposal. Here's another way I think we could help each other. Could you call someone who knows them and say, hey, do you mind emailing Jim? We just had this great call and I haven't heard back, but I know you guys are good friends. Do you mind just saying to him, oh, I heard you might be able to work with Emily? That would be amazing. So those are some of the things you can do to change lanes if the email is not getting a response. You also, if they have an assistant, a lot of people have assistants who kind of are the gatekeepers. You could also email the assistant or call the assistant and just say, hey, I'm just making sure that Jim got my email. I sent it about a week ago. Let me know. Maybe they could even check his email account and see what's going on with that. So that's the changing lanes. That's the second thing you can do if you get the crickets. Welcome, Michael. Oh, hey, good to see you again. Oh, and you got a question. Awesome. I'm going to get to my third thing and then we'll answer your question. So the first thing you can do if you get crickets is manage your mindset and don't assume it's a no. The second thing you do is change lanes. Try some other means of reaching the person. And the third thing you can do is do the job before you have the job. And that means start showing them the value that you can offer. I don't mean solve the entire problem. Of course, they have to hire you to do that. But maybe when you had your conversation, right after you saw an article that was about that very issue. Maybe you were talking about how they're going to integrate AI. And even if that's not the service you were selling them, if you saw some cool article about best practices for integrating AI for the kind of company they have, you could send that. Because if they're not responding to that email, they may respond to another email. You'd be surprised how well this works. Send a link to something that is going to help them with their business. Or if you have some tools, like we have a lot of free tools at Million Dollar Women that are in our free vault, I could send one of these tools to someone, right? If they were saying, I really struggle with getting through all my tasks every day, I know there's got to be a better way. I could send them my Delegate Your Way to the Top tool that helps them track how they're spending all their time and figure out what they could outsource and delegate. Now, again, the trick here is don't send them something that's going to solve the entire problem such that they don't need to hire you anymore. But there's probably something that your clients love that you give them, just some little, fun, quick win that you could send this person just so they can see what it's like to work with you. And again, I call this doing the job before you have the job. One little anecdote, and then we're going to go to Michael's question, is when I wrote my first book, Million Dollar Women, I was introduced to a lot of different literary agents, and I met 3 or 4 literary agents. I'm here in New York City, and a lot of them were kind of like me, like hard charging women, who were going to stop at nothing. And I was impressed with all of them. But one of them was a little different. She was like a little more discreet. She was not as like in your face. And I was like, I don't know if this would really work for my book. But after we had lunch, the very next day, she sent me a panel discussion she had noticed at NYU that was all about women and financial empowerment. And she was like, this is the very type of panel I see you on after we get Million Dollar Women published. Well, guess what? She was the only one who did that. No one else was doing the job before they had the job. And I remember getting the email like, wait, I didn't hire you. I didn't say yes, but she was already showing me the value she brings. And I did wind up hiring her, and it was the best decision I could have made for that book. So those are your 3 things you can do when you get the crickets. And then last reminder is timing is very important, as we all know in sales. So even if you do get a no or they don't write back ever, put a note in your calendar or use your project management system to have some little ding ding alarm go off 3 months from now, 6 months from now. Maybe they'll have more budget. Maybe the person they hired didn't work out. Maybe there's some other project that's going to come up in 3 months you'd be a perfect fit for. Anybody who's in sales in a kind of professional way, and I don't coach those people. I tend to coach people who are just learning sales. Most entrepreneurs have not had sales training, and I've had a lot of sales training. So I've realized some of these things that are intuitive when you've had sales training may not be if you haven't had any. So put a little ding on your calendar to follow up. You'd be surprised how few people do that and how that can make you stand out. And last tip before we go to Michael's question is if you're feeling anxious about, well, how many times do I email this person? Even if you change lanes, even if you're doing the job before you have the job, just set a number for yourself that you can stick to so you don't have to overthink it each time. In 50K in 21 days, we've been suggesting 3 follow-ups. So have the meeting, follow up once, you get nothing, follow up again. You get nothing. Okay, maybe send a link or something. You get nothing. All right, now maybe it goes into your 3 to 6 months ding ding follow up with this person in a few weeks bucket. But if you have to think about it each time, like, oh, has that been too many? That uses up a lot of brain energy. So I don't recommend doing that. Just come up with something and stick to it. All right. Hey, Rachel. Good to see you on here. All right, Michael. So do you have a point of view on the best ways to remain mindful and focused on purpose every day? I love that. Well, I do affirmations every single morning that help remind me why I do what I do, what brings me joy. I actually have a bunch of pictures in my phone that are like my daily affirmations. I've got pictures with my family and friends and things that bring me joy. And I've also got quotes that I love. So maybe that's something you could start doing, is to just keep in your phone something I call mine daily affirmations. And every morning I spend about 5 minutes looking in the mirror and saying certain things that actually were taught to me by my mindset coach, who took me through a whole process to come up with affirmations and these visuals. that are so joyful and empowering for me. I will just spend another minute on the whole affirmation thing, because I know sometimes people are very anti-affirmation. And I think that's because they were probably taught it in the wrong way. There is a right way and a wrong way, I believe, to do affirmations. So the wrong way is, you're amazing, just go do it. Be fearless. You're fearless. Like, I think there's no amount of telling yourself that stuff in the mirror that actually makes a difference. That's just my personal opinion, because I don't think it resonates. I think our subconscious is like, well, that's not how I feel. I actually feel like getting back in bed and pulling up the covers. So stop telling me how fearless I am. Whereas the affirmations that I do were worked out with a coach, a mindset coach, where she did a deep dive into what my limiting beliefs were about myself. And then we came up with the positive opposite of each one. And we wrote those up as my affirmations. It's about 10 things. So I say them every morning and they really resonate with me. And it's like counters my shadow dark side, if that makes sense, Michael. So let me know if that answered the question in the chat. And thank you for bringing that up. If anyone else has questions, feel free to put them in the chat. There is a little delay. And if you're just joining us, this is Scale with Julia. Once a week, I'm going to be sharing scaling and selling tips. Over the next few weeks, there'll be an emphasis on selling, because we're doing our 50K in 21 days challenge right now with a group of women who have never had sales training and are learning how to make their next $50,000 in 21 days. We are having a really good time, and such great questions come up there that I'll just bring one each week here and teach it. All right, I think we are coming up on time, but I did want to share, if anybody's looking for more help with sales or scaling, they can always come find us at millionwomen.com. We have sales and scaling programs, and we also have a national network of women entrepreneurs who are all helping each other to go big. So feel free to check that out and come back here next week if you'd like more tips. We're doing these at 11 a.m. for a couple of weeks, and then we'll probably move to noon because it's kinder to our friends on the West Coast. In the meantime, thanks for joining me and have an amazing day. Bye, everyone.